Welcome to the 700 Club. The high cost of war. Not only is Israel enduring the loss of human lives and suffering, the conflict with Hamas is also taking its toll on the economy. Crops are rotting in the fields, and businesses are short of workers.
As the war now enters its third month, the IDF is expanding its operation in southern Gaza. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
The IDF Chief of Staff says a new phase of the military campaign has begun.
In the last few days, we have moved to the third phase of the ground operations. We have secured many Hamas strongholds in the northern Gaza Strip, and now we are operating against its strongholds in the south.
Israeli forces are fighting now in Khan Yunis, the capital of Hamas in the southern Gaza Strip. The Biden administration reportedly expects the current phase to be over by January and warns Israel the window of time Israel has to finish the operation is closing. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu emphasizing that after the war, Gaza must be demilitarized and only the IDF can be trusted to do it.
No international force can be responsible for this. We've seen what happens in other places when international forces were brought for the goal of demilitarization. I'm not ready to close my eyes and accept any other arrangement.
Netanyahu also railed against the UN and others for not speaking up about the sexual violence by Hamas.
I say to the women's rights organizations, to the human rights organizations, you've heard of the rape of Israeli women? Horrible atrocities, sexual mutilation? I expect all civilized leaders, governments, nations to speak up against this atrocity.
Meanwhile, as the fighting between Israel and Hamas terrorists begins its third month, it's straining much of the country's economy. Given the number of military reservists supporting the fight, local farms are short on manpower.
I mean, a lot of the dads and the men have been called up for reserves and to go to fight in Gaza. And so that leaves this area, and yeah, there's no one to harvest. So it's a need that needs done. And yeah, we just wanted to help out with that.
That's where a group of American cowboys has stepped in, traveling to Israel on their own dime to help fill the gap.
Once I got the call, I dropped everything and headed right over.
The farmers here are suffering big time. So because we've worked in this area for 20 years, obviously we're not going to leave our farmers. We've got 120 farmers in this region that we've helped.
But the strain on Israel's economy is not only in its fields, but in the high-tech sector, finances, and trade. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, joining us now from Jerusalem is John Medved. He's the founder and CEO of Our Crowd and the leading venture capitalist in Israel. So tell us, give us a snapshot. What's the state of the Israeli economy right now?
Well, I'll use one word. I'll call it resilience. You can give us a hit, even in the belly or in the face, and we'll just get right up and keep on moving forward. That's the way that this country operates. And if you actually look at what happened to the shekel, our currency, it dropped in value fairly steeply as soon as the war started. It's now higher and more valuable than when the war started. If you look at our stock market, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, it also dropped. And in fact, the Hamas terrorists, in addition to committing all their barbaric attacks, they actually shorted illegally because they knew that this was going to happen, and the market dropped. And guess what? The market is now fully recovered. We have our experience with these kinds of bouts of war from time to time, and we just plow through it. We continue to grow the economy. Israel's economy is extremely strong, and in particular, the tech sector, which I work in, where we're creating solutions for food tech and artificial intelligence and quantum computing and ag tech and food tech and healthcare and all this great stuff which the world needs. We don't stop. In fact, the slogan here now is Israel Tech delivers no matter what.
I heard a report that someone, and they're claiming it's an individual investor, shorted the Israeli market. Is there any way to find out who that was?
I think the SEC is probably on their trail, and one would guess that it's criminals or terrorists associated with Hamas. These people are unbelievable. Okay, it really the contrast between Israel striving for life celebrating, family values, how to save lives. At every level, we're working that way. And then people who come and burn people alive, who do sexual violence and rape, who kill babies in front of their mothers and cut them out of their stomachs. It's just, it has never been clearer in terms of what we're fighting for. And we're fighting for our continued existence in our historic homeland, where we've been here for thousands of years. And we are busy creating a garden of Eden, a renewed, flourishing of God's people coming home to its homeland. And certainly your viewers are aware of that. They understand, what's at work. And our economy is resilient. It is getting ready to continue its growth. In the meantime, we're at war. We have in my company dozens of people who are serving on the front lines. We give them support. We give them our prayers. And we're very, very proud of the support we're getting from your viewers and from people around the world who are praying for us, who are coming and helping us pick fruit and vegetables in the field, and who are continuing to invest in Israeli companies.
Tell us how people in America can support the Israeli economy right now. It looks like many are showing confidence. People are continuing to put money into the Israeli stock market. How can the average person support you?
Well, first of all, there is an index called the Blue Star Index, which allows you to buy stocks in New York. You can go to my company's website, which is ourcrowd.com. That's OURCROW.D and .com, ourcrowd.com. What we do is we allow you to invest in startups. Now, Israel is known as the startup nation, where we have thousands, actually I heard today, 9,000 different startups. We have 100 unicorns, which are these companies that have grown to $1 billion of value before they go public. And we, at Our Crowd, allow you to choose the companies you would like if you're an accredited investor, which means you have to meet, certain SEC mandated regulations. But we check, and if you do meet that, you can invest as little as $10,000. It's still a lot of money in Israeli startups, or you can go into the market and buy indexes or buy one of the 100 Israeli companies that are traded in New York.
Well, let's talk about politics. Before the war, there was hope with the Abraham Accord. There was hope that actually Saudi Arabia would come to normalize relations with Israel. Do you see those talks getting back on track?
Absolutely. I was just in Abu Dhabi last week in the United Arab Emirates. I cannot tell you how supportive and positive they are about the overall reconciliation, normalization process. They made a strategic decision. And by the way, so have the Saudis. I met last week with another Saudi prince in the Emirates. That my sense is that, once this war is put to bed, this process of reconciliation also with the Saudis will move forward, because frankly, there is no other option. Okay, the only option long-term is learning to live together, is working together to provide employment and to develop technology and to trade freely and to understand that we're all children of Abraham. All you have to do is read the Bible. Okay, so there was a little bit of family dysfunction in terms of sibling rivalry, but we can get over this. And in fact, we are doing it with many of our Arab partners. And I think that is the only way forward for the future.
Tell us about the religious climate in Israel today. Tomorrow night, you start the celebration of Hanukkah. When I read the prayers there, the third blessing on the first night, thanking God for preserving us and bringing us to this season, it just seems to resonate like never before. What's it like? How are you anticipating Hanukkah this year?
Well, first of all, it's a family holiday. Israel is family central. We have the highest birth rate per woman of any country in the OECD. Right now, we're averaging 3.1 per every woman. So I'll be together with my 14 grandchildren, and we'll light the candles, and we'll be privileged to be here in a renewed Jewish state. When you think about the miracles that we've seen in our lifetime, our grandparents saved from the ashes of the Holocaust, my mother was saved from Nazi Germany. My father's family came to America, found refuge from the pogroms of Eastern Europe. And here I am living in the renewed Jewish state and having proud children serve in the defense forces and grandchildren who are growing up, connected to their roots, who know the Hebrew, who know the prayers, and who are very much part of the redemption, which we're seeing in front of our eyes. And the fact that we have so many friends in America, like you and your viewers, who are standing with us means a great deal to us.
Well, we're going to be celebrating Hanukkah in my house and lighting a candle and thanking God for Israel, that Israel lives. And it's wonderful to see. It's absolute proof positive that the prophecies come true, that God stands by his promise over his word to perform it. John, thank you. We stand with you. We stand with Israel. And thanks for being with us.
God bless you and all of your viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, anti-Semitism in America is raging right now on college campuses. Yesterday, the presidents of universities appeared before Congress to give an account for failing to protect Jewish students. Washington correspondent Hillary Powell reports.
On Capitol Hill, an urgent plea for protection on college campuses.
Well, on my way to class, I was greeted with chalk reading 90% of pigs are gas chambered. As a student, despite what my university says, I do not feel safe. Let me be clear, I do not feel safe.
I don't want to have to keep advocating for Jewish student safety on campus. It's not my job.
Students ask for help after surviving violent anti-Semitism on their campuses. Now, the presidents of MIT, Harvard, and the University of Pennsylvania had to answer for their schools' responses to an alarming surge in anti-Semitism.
I know some Israeli and Jewish students feel unsafe on campus as they bear the horror of the Hamas attacks. We know there is further work to do.
Work like making sure the University of Pennsylvania educates on anti-Semitism.
We are in the midst of making certain that all anti-bigotry efforts ensure education about anti-Semitism.
I wondered if that type of education would have been in place at all of our college campuses before this, whether we would have seen the massive reactions that we have.
Harvard University President Claudine Gay was asked about an ongoing federal civil rights investigation about possible violations of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. She declined to answer, but condemned anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism is a symptom of ignorance, and the cure for ignorance is knowledge. Harvard must model what it means to preserve free expression while combating prejudice.
The president says the campus is taking action with a task force to assist students targeted by doxing attempts. The university presidents say they'll also combat xenophobia and all forms of hate. One anti-Semitism expert says she's weary of the national complacency and says it's the third time she's testified about the danger.
Free speech does not permit harassment, discrimination, bias, threats, or violence in any form.
10 schools are currently under investigation by the Department of Education for possible discrimination based on shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics. Schools that violate Title VI can ultimately lose federal funding. The Department of Education isn't allowed to discuss current investigations, but will keep monitoring the results. In Washington, Hillary Powell, CBN News.
Every school in America should adopt an anti-Semitism policy and just make it very clear that it will not be tolerated on their campuses, that all students, regardless of their background, have the freedom to express their religion, have the freedom to assemble and celebrate their community. That should be an absolute. And in that, there should never be a call for genocide. You should never hear the slogan, from the river to the sea, because that's exactly what it means. It's a genocide. It's a call to wipe out every single Jew, wipe out Israel off the map of the Middle East. That's what that phrase means. And to see it paraded on college campuses, to see it in New York City, to see it in London, to see these protests in support of terror is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Let's get clear and let's have the moral clarity. What happened on October 7th should never happen, and it should never be celebrated here in America.